The overseer's house was built between 1820 and 1860. The overseer held a key position, ranking just below the plantation owner. His job was to maximize productivity and profit for the owner.
The owner was not actually the person who was managing the workforce. That was the job of the overseer. Overseer was a free white man who lived on the plantation. The last overseer on this plantation during slavery was a man named Urson Weber. And underneath the overseer would be the slave driver.
While the overseers were free white men, slave drivers were themselves enslaved.
The last slave driver on the plantation in 1860 on the inventory was a man named Julian, whose nickname was Dudu, and he would have been responsible for making sure that the people who are working in the fields are working, but he would also participate in punishments of enslaved people.
Of course, field hands didn't like slave drivers, and we have many examples, instances of slave drivers killed by field hands. But they all understand that's the system, that's the will of the master. The system of slavery was a very violent system with a lot of pain inflicted to the flesh of the enslaved people in order to tame them. If you run away your first time, the punishment would be to be branded with the fleur-de-lis, and then they cut your ears. That is called cropping in English. You run away the second time, they brand you under the shoulder with the fleur-de-lis, and they cut your hamstring. If you run the third time, it was the death penalty.
Laura Smalley was born on a plantation near Hempstead, Texas in about 1861. During an interview conducted by the Works Progress Administration in 1941, she described a punishment witnessed on the plantation where she grew up.
I remember that just as well looked like to me, I think, and down the tree and whipped her. Well, she couldn't do wrong, but just kick her feet to her, just kick her feet. But it just had a clothes off down to her waist. This time was from naked, but they had a clothes down to her waist. And every now and then they put her in the and snuff the pipe out on her, snuff the pipe out.
Because punishments on the plantation are carried out in full view and full earshot of everyone else who's enslaved. And so people will behave on a plantation, they'll fall in line because, in part, not only they're worried about their own self-preservation, in fact, I'd say that's less of a motivating factor. They're more worried about the preservation of the people who they love.
Continue along the main path, and on the right, you will first see the carriage house, and then the